He was 31, she was 58, and he told me with this strange look on his face, like he couldn't quite believe it himself, that this was the first time in his life he felt truly understood, not by a girlfriend, not by his mother, not by anyone his own age. I started wondering, what is it about an older woman that can make a younger man stop like that? He paused. Then he said, "She never needs me to explain myself twice." That answer stayed with me because it points to something most people never talk about when it comes to attraction after 60. Older women often create emotional peace instead of emotional pressure. One of the deepest things many men quietly crave later in life is not excitement, it is peace. After years of responsibilities, emotional complications, performance, competition, failed relationships, misunderstandings, and constant pressure from the world around them, many men begin feeling emotionally exhausted in ways they rarely speak about openly. Because this exhaustion is often internal rather than visible, they do not always recognize immediately what they are truly searching for in a relationship. Older women often create a very different emotional atmosphere around connection. Conversations tend to feel less performative. There is less urgency to impress, less pressure to constantly prove worth, less emotional chaos surrounding every small interaction. And for many men, this shift feels unexpectedly comforting. This does not mean older women are perfect or emotionally effortless. It means many have already moved through enough life experience to understand what truly matters and what no longer deserves emotional energy. They are often less interested in games, mixed signals, emotional testing, or creating unnecessary tension simply to feel desired. A relationship that feels emotionally peaceful later in life becomes incredibly attractive because many men are no longer searching only for chemistry. They are searching for relief, for someone whose presence makes life feel emotionally lighter instead of emotionally heavier. An older woman who feels comfortable within herself often changes the emotional pace of interaction. Naturally, conversations breathe more. Silence feels less threatening. There is less pressure to constantly entertain or perform. And because of that, emotional closeness begins developing more honestly. Many men are surprised by how deeply this affects them. They may initially expect attraction to come from appearance or excitement alone, yet what keeps pulling them closer is the emotional calmness they experience around an older woman, the feeling that they can finally relax. Older women often make men feel emotionally accepted. Many men spend a large part of their lives feeling that love is connected to performance. Performance at work, performance emotionally, performance financially. Even inside relationships, many quietly feel they are valued most when they are succeeding, providing, solving problems, or maintaining a certain image of strength. Because constantly feeling evaluation changes the way people experience intimacy, they begin protecting parts of themselves, hiding insecurity, carrying pressure silently because they no longer believe emotional openness will be fully welcomed. Older women frequently create a stronger sense of emotional acceptance, not because they have lower standards, but because many are no longer obsessed with perfection. Life experience tends to soften certain expectations. It teaches people that everyone carries wounds, fears, flaws, insecurities, disappointments, and emotional scars beneath the surface. A man may notice that conversations feel less judgmental. He feels less pressure to constantly impress, feels less fear of saying the wrong thing or revealing emotional vulnerability, and this emotional acceptance creates something deeply attractive because many men rarely experience it consistently. This does not mean older women tolerate unhealthy behavior or abandon boundaries. Emotional acceptance is not the same as emotional self-sacrifice. It simply means the connection often feels more human and less conditional, more grounded in emotional reality instead of idealized expectation. A relationship where someone feels accepted creates a different kind of closeness. The nervous system relaxes, conversations deepen naturally, emotional honesty becomes easier, and instead of constantly managing an image, a man slowly begins revealing parts of himself he usually keeps hidden. And perhaps this becomes even more powerful later in life because aging humbles people emotionally. Both men and women eventually realize perfection is impossible. What begins mattering more is whether someone allows you to feel emotionally safe enough to be imperfect openly. If you have ever experienced a relationship where emotional acceptance made connection feel deeper and calmer, you are invited to share your thoughts in the comments. Many people only later realize that feeling emotionally safe around someone can become one of the strongest forms of attraction itself. Older women often carry a quiet emotional independence. Men admire emotional independence creates a kind of presence that people feel immediately, even if they cannot fully explain it. It changes the energy inside conversations, relations, and everyday interaction. And many men find themselves deeply drawn toward older women because of this quality alone. A woman who has lived through enough life experience often no longer approaches relationships from the same emotional place she once did when she was younger. She has usually already faced heartbreak, disappointment, loneliness, sacrifice, rebuilding, and personal growth. And through those experiences, many older women slowly develop a stronger connection to themselves. She enjoys connection, but she is not consumed by it. She values companionship, but her entire emotional world does not collapse when uncertainty appears. She can care deeply without abandoning herself completely. And this creates a sense of emotional steadiness many men quietly admire because emotional dependence often creates pressure in relationships. Constant reassurance becomes necessary. Small emotional shifts become magnified. Fear of loss quietly shapes interaction, but emotionally feels freer, calmer, more emotionally mature. Many men over time begin realizing how exhausting emotionally unsure. They may once have mistaken intensity for passion, or emotional unpredictability for chemistry. But later in life, many start craving something very different: consistency, calmness, emotional stability. And interestingly, emotional independence does not make older women cold or emotional. In many cases, it creates deeper forms of connection because affection becomes more intentional rather than emotionally active. Love begins coming from wholeness instead of fear. A man feels this difference strongly. He notices that an older woman often allows space inside the relationship. Space for individuality, space for honesty, space for emotional breathing, and instead of making him feel trapped or constantly responsible for stabilizing someone else emotionally, the connection feels emotionally sustainable. Older women often feel more authentic and emotionally real. One of the quietest but most powerful forms of attraction later in life is authenticity. Not perfection, not performance, simply the feeling that someone is emotionally real. And many men find themselves unexpectedly drawn toward older women because the connection often feels more honest, more grounded, and less emotionally artificial. They become tired of relationships built entirely around appearances, social performance, emotional games, or carefully created versions of identity. Life experience slowly teaches people that real connection cannot fully exist where authenticity is missing. And because of this, many older women begin interacting with the world differently. A man notices when someone feels emotionally comfortable being herself. The interaction becomes calmer because there is less performance happening underneath the conversation, less emotional calculation, less pressure to create a perfect image constantly, and because of that, honesty, closeness begins feeling more genuine. Many men describe this feeling without fully realizing what they are responding to emotionally. They simply say, "Things feel easier around older women, more natural, more peaceful." But underneath those words is often a deeper truth. Authenticity allows people to relax emotionally because they no longer feel they are interacting with a mask. This matters deeply later in life because emotional exhaustion changes attraction. After years of superficial interactions, complicated dating dynamics, and relationships built on image rather than substance, many men quietly begin craving sincerity more than excitement because realness creates emotional intimacy. Far more effectively than perfection ever could, that connection feels emotionally grounded. That closeness no longer depends on constant performance or emotional manipulation. And perhaps this is one of the deepest reasons more men are quietly falling for older women today. Not because older women are trying harder to attract attention, but because many have stopped trying to perform constantly altogether. And that emotional honesty feels rare. One of the most surprising things about aging is that attraction often becomes deeper, not smaller. The qualities that once seemed most important slowly lose some of their emotional power, and quieter things begin taking their place. Peace, authenticity, emotional safety. The feeling that someone's presence makes life calmer rather than more complicated. And perhaps this is why more men are quietly falling for older women today. Men notice the emotional peace. Older women create the acceptance they offer, the independence they carry, the honesty in the way they show up emotionally. These things may not always be visible immediately from the outside, yet they shape connections far more deeply than surface-level attraction alone. If you found value in this time together, don't forget to like and subscribe to Wise Life After 60. Here we continue exploring the deeper emotional realities of love, relationships, attraction, and human connection. Later in life, the kind of wisdom that only becomes clearer with time.